through the hot red tides of sin.
This is Faith Blind
Counsel.
Everything is within.
You create the light.
Okay, I think we're
That's
recording
it.
now, so...
Okay.
Is the thing counting?
Yeah, it's counting.
What's counting?
It's counting good.
Yeah.
Good.
It's giving me numbers and shit.
Hell yeah.
Woo!
Hell yeah. We're on a great start for this. This is the first actual episode of the Faith Blind Council podcast that we are recording with our new setup.
Yeah.
Which is why I probably sound like I am in the middle of a fish tank somewhere.
Yeah, there could be worse places to be.
Yeah, I mean, as long as it's, I don't know, if it's got one of those little castles in it, like, I'm cool with it.
Yeah, just some shiny rocks.
Yeah, I mean,
treasure
really, what else do you
chest.
need? That's really all life is about, is just having shiny rocks. And if you don't have those, then what are you even doing? This is the Faith Blind Council podcast. My name is Frauder Dreadnought.
Frauder Yara Marud.
And Seda Cologne.
And we are doing stuff. That I said I was going to stop doing that last episode, and then I didn't.
Nope.
I didn't stop doing it because I'm good at this. This episode, we're going to be covering Discordianism.
There you go.
Yay!
Yeah.
Just found out about that.
Yeah, you just found out about that. Just now.
Yep. This is the moment that I learned we're covering Discordianism today.
Well, and that's really why we didn't bother giving you a reading list. Because
It's
you
just
can't
a
believe
whole fucking thing.
I've read the Illuminatus series.
Well, there, you're on a good fucking start.
Well,
That's pretty much it as far as Discordianism that I've read so far.
But did you believe any of it?
When I was reading it, I believed every word of it. That's how I am
Then
about
you-
fiction.
You have failed. as a
You done
Discordian,
fucked
then.
up.
You see that? That's you fucking up. You don't believe anything that you read. That's one of the rules. And I know that because I read it.
Yeah. Well, that's one of my favorite
Never
parts of that book is when one of the characters is reading basically within the book, it's a parody of Atlas Shrugged that the character is reading.
Yeah.
And one of the things he says is, like, he just kind of believes it while he reads it. He's just all in on the story so much that it's just amazing mindfuck of a story to read because he actually just buys into it at the time he's reading it. I'm like, I'm kind of the same way when I read fiction. I just buy into it while I'm reading it.
It has
And then think about
such
it later.
great quotable lines, too. Like, why are you here collecting all of these icky books by creepy people?
It's a good question. My favorite parody of Atlas Shrugged is Ayn Rand's Life. It's so good. It's the greatest one ever. What you do is you preach about libertarianism for, I don't know, what was she, like 80,000 years old or whatever the fuck? And then you get sick and go on welfare. Like, that's what you do. Anyhow.
Living by your principles.
Right.
As far as Discordianism goes, there are several books that have been written about it. Really, in my mind, the only one you need to read is probably Principia Discordia.
Which was the first one that was written. Which is
Yeah,
what
and
started
it's-
the whole goddamn thing.
Yeah, and it even that, I mean, need is a very strong word when it comes to doing anything with Discordianism, as far as like intellectual pursuit. Like, the thing with Discordianism is you just kind of do shit. Like,
Well, there's a lot to unpack with it. It's like that's one of the, like, much like we discussed in an earlier thing where we were talking about, like, misconceptions of chaos magic just being chaotic and whatever. It's kind of the same with Discordianism. Like, there's the surface level of it's just fucking chaos, do whatever the fuck you want, but there is underlying foundation to it.
yeah, and like, so one of the things that I really love about Discordianism is if you take all of the jokey religions that came out of the late 90s into the, like, early 2000s, around that time, of like the Church of the Flying Spaghetti Monster. There are a bunch of other ones.
Well,
like,
and one that spawned almost directly after Discordianism was the Church of the Subgenius.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which of has the same feel to it as well, with the whole, things aren't exactly defined with their belief in attaining slack. And it was kind of a parody religion as well.
There was also like the cult of the monster that lives in my garage or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And they're very much the same thing, but Discordianism is very much like a joke religion that just didn't stop and became a full-fledged thing.
I mean, yeah, that's one way of looking at it. And yeah, I mean, it helps that you, as Kilone said, you do have the fucking Illuminatus trilogy, which really helped provide structure for their mythology. And even Robert Anton Wilson had said at one point, like, he wanted to take these Discordian ideas and create a mythology behind it.
Yeah. And it's something that has, like, I feel like if you were to go and ask the two guys that, like, came up with Discordianism if they thought it was actually going to take off and become a thing, they would probably A, laugh until they shit themselves, and B, collect themselves just enough to start laughing and then shit themselves some more.
No, that's probably accurate.
So the story of Discordianism, it goes kind of like this. It was created by these two college students in 50 something.
63 was when the first edition of Principia Discordia was published.
Yeah, but in the book they talk about the creation or basically how Discordianism was handed down to them at this fucking bowling alley or whatever.
Right, but I mean, even with the Church of the Subgenius, the first published thing that they put out was in the early 70s or 75, I think. But according to them, it had first come about in the 50s. So it's you kind of have to take them at their word for it.
Yeah, it's a thing that is very much written to be, and I'm not real familiar with the Church of the Subgenius, but I'm assuming it's the same way, where it's written very much in a way that it does not take itself seriously at all.
No. It was created definitely as a parody of things like not just Christianity, because their primary deity is Jehovah One. But also it parodies things like Scientology with the concept that Jehovah One is actually an alien, and there's a lot of mention of UFOs and extraterrestrials and shit.
Cool. Do they also have Douglas DC-8s but built for space?
No, but their spokesperson is a time-traveling Ward Cleaver. So,
huh. That kind of sounds cooler than being just a fat guy with wooden teeth that pistol whips people for fun, or whatever it was that Hubbard was trying to do at the end, fucking reanimating squirrels or whatever. I don't know what he was doing.
Taking fucking heart rate from a tomato or some shit. I think I saw probably.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he was administering IQ tests to garden hoses.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Something like that.
And then extorting them for money.
Yeah, he wouldn't give them... that's the trick. You give them the test. It's do you remember freecreditreport.com?
Absolutely, yeah.
So, freecreditreport.com, that was their whole scam. You could get your credit report, but you didn't get the results of it until you gave them $25. That's what Scientology is. Except for instead of $25, it's $250,000. And also, I think you have to, Widdershins polish John Travolta's nuts or something.
Yes.
It's weird.
Yeah.
It's very strange.
It's just spiritual bait and switch.
Emphasis on the bait.
Yeah.
Anyways, back to Discordianism. Discordianism is a thing that very much rose in kind of, it very much rose in opposition or like in parody to these kind of new age, like guru movements.
Yes.
And it very much came from a place of just this kind of tongue-in-cheek fuck you to all of that. And in that way, it's in its foundation, it's very similar to chaos magic. It's in a way that's done much more sarcastically.
Mm-hmm.
And probably not with like this huge expectation that people are going to take it seriously. But it's done in that similar way in as far as like, anybody can be a pope. Anybody can be anything, and the titles don't mean anything. You can give yourself pretty much any title you want. There's a chapter in Principia Discordia that talks about all of the different titles you can get. And basically, the way that you get those titles is either A, by declaring that you are that, or B, you can undergo a whole, like, there are, like, ceremonies that are in there, but the ceremonies are complete fucking nonsense.
Mm-hmm. But as you had said, there's a parallel with chaos magic. I'm very much under the belief that there is a direct lineage with it, because with the Illuminatus trilogy in particular, that was first published, I think, in like 73, 74.
That sounds about right. I really don't know.
It's
But-
something. I'm sure I could look it up.
But
then
then
I'd have to type
Liber
things
Null
out.
and Psychonaut, which was the first published, like, mash together of the terms chaos alongside with magic, that was first published in 78. And
Oh,
the Illuminatus trilogy in particular, if you do read it, there are a lot of things that you will notice are mentioned within chaos magic or by people who practice it. So, for example, the whole concept of nothing is true, everything is permissible.
Yeah.
That shows up in the Illuminatus trilogy. There's mentions of other figures that show up within chaos magic.
well, and one of the things in Discordianism that shows up a lot is the idea that everything is true.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, everything is permitted. And that shows up a lot specifically in Principia Discordia. That quote specifically, everything is true, everything is allowed, shows up. Fuck. Like, I don't know, the pages in that book, like, they're not even written, like, some of them are just written sideways. Some of them are backwards.
Well,
Like,
yeah,
it's a whole-
it was first, quote unquote, published. It was printed on the dude's Xerox machine and just handed out.
Yeah. It's very, I would say it's very much like the prototype for postmodern religion.
Yeah, if
It's-
your religion is based entirely on, like, 80s and 90s zine culture.
Well, I mean, name me one cult that you would join that's not based on 80s and 90s zine culture.
That's-
first of all.
Accurate. I can't.
Yeah, exactly.
Except possibly extorting garden hoses for money.
Fair enough, but that's something you'd have to make. Because to get into that, you have to start out as the garden hose, and then you work your way into the reel of initiation.
The shed.
And it costs $250,000 to end up in the shed.
Fuck. It's gonna cost you $250,000 to end up in the stabbing cabin.
And also, it takes like 7 years. Like, it's a whole fucking thing.
God, fuck.
And like, but that's a thing that repeatedly shows up. Like, there's like an anti that in Discordianism specifically. That is real. A, it's completely fucking absurd, and B, it's so well executed. Like, if you want to look at something where you're trying to figure out what the perfect amount of drugs to do is.
All of them is not the answer.
No. The perfect amount of drugs to do. If you do all of the drugs, you end up with Pink Floyd's Metal. But if you do the perfect amount of drugs, you end up with Principia Discordia. Like, it's a perfect... It's like, it's nonsense. None of it really matters. But it has just enough, like, glue. Like, someone came in it just enough to hold the pages together. And it's there, right? There are, like, just these few concepts. Like, every now and again, like, it's just enough as you're reading through it, and you're like, this is fucking bullshit. What am I doing? There's, like, that one thing that stands out, and you're like, oh, shit. I'm back in it now.
Yeah, because even, like, along one of the fucking side margins, one of them had written, if you think Principia Discordia is all ha-ha, read it again.
Yeah. And it's done in such a way that is, like, woven into the, like, tapestry of the fucking book. If nothing else, it is a great way to, like... It's a great thing to go to if you're bored.
Oh, yeah.
Like... If you're bored of just the way that books look.
With their fucking pages and their fucking spines and covers and words and shit.
All of the words go in the same direction. All of the letters, like, making sense. If you're bored of that shit.
If you're tired of concepts.
Do I have a... No, that's all that Principia Discordia is just concept. There's very little
cohesion.
There's very little cohesion to it. Again, just enough so that the page is stuck together.
Yeah.
That's it.
They just used cum for the book glue.
Yeah, I mean, what else? It's natural. No animals were harmed as far as we know. Probably fewer animals were harmed with that than I don't know. They probably use Elmers to keep regular books together. I don't know how books work. So
clearly, this is no surprise.
I listened to this book recently, and oh boy, the guy that was narrating.
Oh my god! Yeah, you sent me that link.
Very best.
He tried.
He did his very best. I cannot say that I would have done any better.
I swear to God, I started listening to that, and I got like 15 minutes in before it just sounded like this was the first time he'd ever picked it up.
It very much was like he did not... It sounds very much like he did the whole thing in one take.
Oh no, he absolutely did, but it's like he was just stuck in a cell, someone opened the door, yeeted this fucking book in his head, and said, read it.
Read it out loud.
Yes.
And you don't get to try again.
No. Like, he even apologizes and shit. Like, he mispronounces words, and he's like, oh, no, I'm sorry. Like, anyway.
He tried. And you know what? It's more than I would have tried, because I would have been like, what? No, fuck you. Kill me. I'm not doing this shit. Fucking dumb.
Yeah, it was a struggle getting through those 15 minutes, but then it was just like, I can read this faster than what this dude's trying. But
yeah,
I award him points for going through with his punishment. Because that's all I can assume that recording was a punishment for some grievous crime.
It's very much like seeing a horse walk on its hind legs. It's not graceful, but you're surprised to see it attempted at all.
I really respect that analogy.
So
that kind of also sums up Discordianism as well.
Very much. It sums up somebody trying to explain it, which is going to be the next, like, hour and 40 minutes of this podcast.
Yeah.
So, strap the fuck in. Here we go. So, let's get a little bit into, like, the mythos of Discordianism. The idea behind it, not as the authors wrote it, because there's a whole fucking story with that as well. but the mythology behind Discordianism goes back to Greek and fucking shit. I don't know.
Greek and
That's
Roman.
What Greeks did
Yeah.
mostly. Yeah, mostly they just fucked around. But the whole thing is about...
Yeah, the foundation of all Western thought is just fucking around.
Pretty much. I mean, like, what...
Plato, Socrates, who the fuck are those guys?
Are you actually going to sit there and tell me that Pythagoras at no point in his life was like, let's see if they fucking believe this shit? I bet you that happened.
He had his own mystery cult. Of course he did.
Yeah, and it just worked. But anyhow, it goes back to, it's all about venerating the goddess of discord, Eris. The whole thing goes back to the idea of some fucking party that Zeus was throwing, which why would you want to go to that anyways, if we're being honest? Zeus's parties were probably fucking lame. Like, I bet you Zeus threw, like, themed parties.
Bitch is probably just sneaking in a broom closet with someone anyway.
Whatever the fuck it was. It was like, there's this party, I forget what it was for, because I listened to the book because I'm not a good reader.
And you don't understand books.
We've established this on so many of the esotopicals where I try to read answers. I can't fucking do it, man. I just can't. Anyhow, there's this party, and Eris is not invited to the party because Eris is the goddess of discord, and she's a troublemaker and a fucking rapscallion.
Although, if you read it from her point of view, she wasn't invited not because of her reputation, but because she knew all of the gods would be fawning all over her, and she was going to be life of the party anyway, so they were like, no, we're throwing the party for me.
Fair enough. Regardless of the reasoning behind it. Like, what matters is the act that happens in the mythology. The act that happens is fucking... Eris doesn't get invited to the party for one reason or another. She then takes a bunch of gold and makes an apple out of it because that's how much sense Greek shit makes. It's like, oh, what if we made this apple out of gold? And like people were super jazzed about it. Like, fuck yeah, golden apples. We can't eat them.
Although it says in Principia Discordia, it's never explained whether or not it was metallic gold or Acapulco.
True. I feel like that's also not edible in any way, shape, or form. I mean, unless maybe if you're like Yokozuna, I guess. I don't know. But then writes onto the apple Callisti, which means to the fairest, throws it into the fucking party, and then goes and like fucks off and eats a hot dog. Which is really a better party anyway.
If that's the case, I am a fucking party animal.
Like, name one party you've gone to ever where you at no point thought, I could be at home eating a hot dog right now.
None, but I also have social anxiety disorder. So, most of the time I would rather be at home chugging hot dogs.
No, I mean, yeah, okay, social anxiety disorder. I'm just a fat piece of shit. I would always want to be at home eating hot dogs. I could be at home eating a hot dog and be like, yeah, but I could be in my bedroom eating a hot dog right now.
In fact, that's where I keep most of them.
In fact, that's why I have a microwave in my bedroom.
You fat piece of shit. Well, it's 3 o'clock. Better heat that burrito back up.
Burritos are just like liquid hot dog, really, if you think about it.
I don't want
Anyways.
I'm trying not
to. Now you can't not think about it. Nailed it.
Ugh.
Anyhow.
Now I'm just thinking about, like, liquefying hot dogs and putting them into ravioli.
You realize we're going to have to do that at some point to make hot dog essential oil, right?
As if I couldn't hate myself anymore.
No, it's happening. It's just going to be a whole ass thing. Don't worry about it. Where were we at? I've lost my train of thought entirely. Hot dogs.
Yep.
So, Eris chucks the fucking apple into the party, and it is like, adios, douchebags, and then goes and eats a hot dog. And everything is good, because she's like, fuck yeah, hot dogs. Meanwhile, everybody else at this party freaks the fuck out because there's a golden apple. And they're all like, I fucking love golden apples, I guess.
Well, and it said to the fairest, like, or to the prettiest or whatever.
Yeah.
So they were bitching amongst themselves like, no, I deserve
It's
it.
mine. It's mine.
Yeah, so, anyways, there's 3 other goddesses, fucking, who honestly cares which ones they are, because they're not Eris. And they're all like, it's my apple. No, it's my apple. And then so Zeus is like, nope, we'll have a fucking contest.
Hot dog eating contest!
Would have been so much better. So much better. Because then we all would know that it goes to Joey Chestnut.
The fucking Greeks really phoned it in with their mythology.
Of course they did, because they were too busy fucking around with their mystery cults and their fucking whatever oracles at Delphi. That sounds dumb. I need a hot dog at Delphi. I could have been having hot dogs at Delphi instead of learning secrets.
You could have actually been respected in ancient Greece.
Goddamn right. Imagine going back to Greece with a hot dog. What is this? It's a cow that's been processed and looks like a dick. It'd have been so good.
Suck it down, Socrates!
More like Socrates, am I right?
Boom.
Disgusting. Anyways, so these 3 other goddesses, they are like, no, it's my apple. No, it's my apple. And Zeus is like, fine, we'll have a fucking contest. And he picks a mortal to decide which one gets the apple. Well, they all 3 go and try to bribe him to win the fucking apple, because that's all they have to care about, I guess. It's kind of like, it's very much like the scene in American Psycho where all they give a shit about are like their fucking business cards for the whole movie.
Yeah, that's what I took away from that movie.
The thing is, it's important to have a hobby. If you don't have a hobby, you end up serial killing people.
He had a hobby. Fucking business cards. They were like...
That's a shitty hobby.
Fucking 15 pages dedicated to a fucking card.
His hobby was renting videotapes.
Oh, yeah, that's true. And fucking
returning
Huey
them.
Lewis and the News.
The point being, have a hobby, folks. That isn't business cards or renting the same movie or whatever the fuck he does. I don't know. Have a hobby that doesn't involve being Christian Bale, if at all possible.
Solid.
So anyways, they all go to fucking, what's the word? Bribe Paris, right? And one of them decides that they're going to bribe him by saying, you can have the fairest person on the planet, who is Helen of Sparta or whatever the fuck. And Paris is a lonely old fucking sad boy and decides like, yep, that's the bribe that wins. And then we get the fucking Trojan Wars. And thanks, Eris, and hot dogs. There we go.
Yep.
Nailed it. That's how fucking, that's Eris in 28 minutes. I did it.
I'm so proud of you.
You fucking should be. This is what happens
when you don't read books. This is a PSA. This is what happens when you don't read books. You end up like this. Do you want to be like this?
This is what happens when you do read books, and then you let me talk about the book that I read. I read a whole book. Sort of.
We should sign you up with a new accelerated reader.
No, what you should do is you should let me get that fucking personal pan pizza from Pizza Hut, because I finished the book and did a book report on it.
You gotta read 5 books to get the personal pan pizza.
Well, god damn it!
Well, there's his whole year.
Fuck, man. I worked a whole year for a personal pan pizza. Okay, I guess. What else am I doing? So yeah, that's Discordianism in a nutshell. I feel like I knocked it out of the park, if we're being honest.
Okay. Yeah, I'll give you that. So, it's from there that there's like it's in Principia Discordia that one of the tenets that they propose is that no Discordian shall eat hot dog buns unless it's on a Friday, in which case it is mandatory. And the reason for this is buns backwards is snub, which reminds you of the original snub that happened to Eris. Yeah. Yeah.
It's like it's all coming back to me now.
Yeah.
There's a whole section of that book that has to do with reading shit backwards. Like, the idea that Eros, the god of love, hates Eris is because Eros backwards is sore. That's a whole thing.
The perfect amount of drugs.
Yeah, it really is. It's the only other book I can think of that was the perfect amount of like inebriation is Hitchhiker's Guide. That's really
even Douglas Adams said that he came up with the idea for the book while he was almost blackout drunk in the middle of a field. So
yeah. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. You look at people who don't use fucking drugs to make their art, and you end up with, like, all the Christian hardcore that came out in the 90s. Does anybody want that? No, is the answer.
Yeah, because then you end up with shit like Evanescence.
God. You know what the best part about this is? This is an aside. We have video chat now, so you could actually see the faces we're making if I release the video, but I'm not going to, because honestly... Who has the time for that? It'd be a whole thing.
I'm just gonna stay hidden behind my spit screen here.
That's fair.
Yeah.
I don't
Pop
judge
guard.
you. There's
Pop
a
guard.
spit screen.
I've heard it referred to as spit screens before.
Quit spitting into the microphone, you animal.
Cologne's over here just... Well, this is what I think. Perfect.
I can't talk unless my microphone's thoroughly lubed.
You're not wrong. Really. So that is, I guess, that's kind of the best I could call it would be the creation myth, but not really.
Well, no, because it's also in, like, the Book of Eris, I think, where it talks about further, like, actual creation myth. And, like... So Eris had a sister called Anaris.
Yes.
Yeah, and so the big thing with Discordianism is that it's kind of like sarcastic Taoism in the fact that there's always equal and opposite. So the opposite of Eris would be Anaris, who instead of representing chaos, then represents order. And so, as in the Illuminatus trilogy, you have the Discordians, but then the people who are against the Discordians are the Illuminati. And the Illuminati stand for total order.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that sounds like a fucking buzzkill.
No, and that's like how I had said earlier, how there's this whole like fucking foundation like thing there. It's once you start getting into that you realize that there's a little bit more substance than just fucking hucking Pop-Tarts at people. So you get with the whole like order disorder thing. And they have a myth behind that, which is the curse of the gray face. And the myth with that is there was this one dude in Atlantis called Greyface who was just a total fucking buzzkill. Everyone was having a good time, just enjoying themselves, and he decides to come up with bullshit like order and laws and rules.
You can't all be having sex with each other all the time.
Fuck your rules, Greyface!
That sounds horrible.
Yeah.
Why would anybody want that rule?
And
that literally sounds like the dumbest. I hate that rule.
So you've got this order that comes about, and then from there you have more like order that comes about in the form of governments and organizations and shit like that form from the desire for order. And so they have this whole system that goes, it's a 5-part system, which we haven't even touched on the law of fives yet.
Fives. Yep.
Oh yeah, that's a thing.
Yeah. Everything happens in fives. Everything.
Or in 2 or 3,
2 and
because
3.
2 plus 3 equals 5. Basically,
Or-
anything that can be,
Or if it's
multiples of
divisible by
5.
yeah. If it's divisible by 5, multiples of 5.
Or anything directly or indirectly related to 5.
Yes. Oh yeah.
Like that. That's
So-
the law of 5.
Yeah, and it's like I think it was Omar in Principia who said something like, the more I look into it, yeah, it's like I keep seeing 5s and fucking everything. So they're with their system, they have how things, or there's a 5-tiered system of how civilizations and most bullshit goes, and it starts with chaos, and that's everything in its purest, most undiluted, beautiful form. And then from that comes discord, and after chaos comes discord, and that's when people start like having rules and shit, and things start becoming a little bit more organized, and people are starting to bicker about things and dumb shit. And then after discord comes confusion, and that's when like it just gets even worse, and people are fighting even more, and then you get like hierarchies of whatever bullshit. After that comes bureaucracy, and bureaucracy is total fucking gray-face buzzkill, and nobody wants any of that, and it's garbage, and fuck it all. And then
You don't want it, but you're gonna get it in triplicate.
yeah.
That's what bureaucracy is.
Yep, and then after bureaucracy comes aftermath, and that's when things start falling back into chaos.
But that's where we start getting really good Snoop Dogg albums
Oh, okay.
from Aftermath.
I'll take your word on that one.
That is, wow. Never mind.
But so,
Listen, I have to deal with these uncultured swine. It's fine.
says the man who can't read 5 books.
That is, I choose not to. The same way I refuse to follow metaphor. It's not that I can't, it's that I won't.
That's very Discordian of you. So with these five steps, you also have like they have their own fucking calendar as well, which again,
Oh yeah.
falls within 5s. And okay, so first of all, fun fact: we are recording this on Chaoflux, which
Yeah.
is the first major holiday of the Discordian calendar. So the Discordian calendar, instead of 7 days of the week, you have 5 days of the week. And
Mhm.
each one of those is representative of the 5 senses. So right now we're recording on Setting Orange. But the days of the week are Sweet Morn, Boom Time, Pungent Day, Prickle Prickle, and then Setting Orange. So
Boom time is a great. Let's be honest.
So Sweet Morn having sweetness, taste. Boom Time, boom, sound.
Sure.
Pungent Day, pungent, sense of smell. After that is Prickle Prickle, like sense of touch. And then orange is sight. And it's a thing where you can fucking meditate on these if you feel so fucking inclined. But then they have 5 seasons of the year, so our full yearly calendar is then broken down into 5 seasons, which is representative of those 5 things, structured things that I'd already mentioned.
Yeah.
And then
Chaos, discord, confusion, bureaucracy, the aftermath.
yeah, and then every 50th day of that season is a holiday based on that structured thing. So since Chaos is the first one, we're kind of in the first part of the year. It's the 50th day into the year. It is therefore Chaos Flux. After that comes Disco Flux, and then fucking Confoflux, I think.
Confuflux.
Confuflux, yeah.
Yeah, and then Buraflux and Afflux. Like the insurance.
Yeah.
But not really.
It probably is. Who knows?
I got real disappointed because I was thinking about when Gilbert Gottfried got fired from being the Affleck Duck.
Sad day.
Yeah, I mean, whatever. It doesn't really affect.
Have a fucking moment of silence for that one.
Well, we did kind of.
Yeah, we kind of did.
Yeah, it's totally fine. So yeah, we are actually recording this on Chaoflux. So happy Chaoflux. I don't know how you actually celebrate that,
dude. It even says in the Book of Eris, it's like you just celebrate it however you want to.
No, that's totally cool. I'm with it. Yeah, but it's all just weird, right? It's fucking weird, and it's done that way very much on purpose.
Yep.
The different, like, where it comes down to is, like, discerning what the purpose of that weirdness is.
Right,
and there are...
Go ahead.
There are a bunch of different reasons for it. It's not just one reason why it's weird. We were talking about it a little earlier. The idea, like, if you, as you go deeper into it, you do see these little kernels of actual, like, kind of deep thought that are put into it.
Coherence.
And you have this surface level, like, cavalier attitude and bullshittery to drive away people who would just be, like, fucking buzzkills.
Right. And if, like, reading in some of the other books, it goes into more of the philosophy of Discordianism, where the reason you act like all random and shit and chaotic and whatever, the reason for doing this is because they tend to follow, like, the Thalamic law of do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. And so, but the thing is doing what you will is not the same as doing whatever you like. So they their texts kind of reflect the idea of doing what you will is just being your natural whole self. So just like grass grows, that's just what it does. The sun shines, that's just what it does. And so the purpose of Discordianism is to just become yourself and do what you do. And it's through chaos that you are able to achieve this kind of enlightenment, I guess you could say, in that by completely disregarding all order and whatever, you realize that, you know, there are rules and it's fine and I can follow them, that's cool, but I don't have to, I don't need to. Like, that's one thing that's kind of a misconception as well, just saying, like, oh, someone's a Discordian, well, they're just going to fuck everything up with their I'm so random bullshit. No, they can play along, it's fine, they can do whatever. If I'm a Discordian and, like, we're having a group project, I'm not just gonna fucking throw a wrench in the works every fucking time I can play along. It's just through doing all of this, I realize I don't have to. I don't need your rules.
Yeah, and that's very much where this, like, deconstruction of order is based. Because, like, the more you look at things being ordered, the more you realize that you're not the one who came up with the order. You're not the one who built that. But you are also, like, if you're looking at it through a Discordian lens, you are not beholden to that.
No.
Because you didn't make it. So it doesn't matter.
Right. And, like Wilson had said in the Illuminatus trilogy, is one of the primary reasons for doing this and acting this way. And, like, he had mentioned Operation Mindfuck, in which, you know, you try and bring down corporatism and bureaucracy. And the reason for doing this is you act, and through magic, you act in an opposing way, so that way other people will start to realize that it's all just made up bullshit. The only reason I respect that this person has this, or this person owns this home, is because their name is on a piece of paper. Why the fuck do I care about that? The only reason we use money is because, like, paper money. I hand you $5, you believe that it's worth that much, but it's just fucking paper.
Yeah, it's everything only works because we say it works.
Yeah, and that's like the ultimate kind of philosophy behind it, is you're just getting into realizing it's all an illusion. Nothing's real, it's all made up.
It's a very I hate to say it because it's been co-opted by like douchebags, but it's a very like it's very much foundationally the same as nihilism, right? The idea that in nihilism, people always conflate this thing of like with nihilism that nothing means anything. And that's not really the case. The thing with nihilism is that nothing has inherent meaning. The only meaning that matters is the meaning that you ascribe to it on an individual level. But it's also been co-opted by fucking douchebags for the last, God, I don't know.
Thanks,
forever.
Nietzsche.
Like, but that's very much, they're very similar in that aspect. And that's what, like, through practicing Discordianism, you are meant to figure out.
Yeah.
You're meant to figure out what is it that you ascribe meaning to? What is it that you ascribe importance to? On a very, like, instinctual level. Not even so much like, yeah, there's intellectual stuff to it, but by breaking down all of this order and breaking down all of these patterns, you're discovering what you would do if there were no patterns.
Right. And through reading the texts and the way that they describe it, and they throw in humor constantly, because by taking things too seriously, you take yourself too seriously, which is completely counterintuitive. Because you shouldn't, they stress that you shouldn't hold beliefs, which even in, like, Principia Discordia, in the Book of Eros, in the fucking, what was it? Jonesboro Discordia?
Yeah.
They stress over and over and over again, you should not have beliefs. Because by believing in something, you hold that as true, and by holding that as true, you no longer challenge yourself. You just accept it and go along. You become stagnant.
Yeah. You're very much opening yourself up to, by having that belief and believing that that thing is true, it is then closing yourself off to anything else that could be true. Hence the axiom that everything is true.
Yes. Like, nothing, and at the same time, nothing is true, which they have, there's Aneros, Eris, as, like, the two opposing sides, which are reflected in the sacred cow, which is, for people who don't know, the sacred cow is basically the Discordian yin-yang symbol. Except instead of two dots, one of them is the golden apple, and then the other is pentagon. And so you have the golden apple, representative of Podge and total chaos, versus Hodge, and the pentagon representing order. And
yeah,
you realize these two things, it's two sides of the same coin, but that coin's just fucking made up anyway.
Yeah, the one of the big things that is important in Discordianism is the idea that the difference between everything and nothing is nothing. Nothing has any, like, what Discordianism says, to kind of tie back to the point I was making a little bit ago. In Discordianism, the idea is that there isn't, like, even your inherent meaning that you ascribe to things is completely arbitrary. Like, these choices that you make are just made. And the idea is to not to get to a point where you can understand the choices you're making, because they're all just fucking made up. Like, it's very similar to the idea of Zen via frontal lobotomy.
Because it's all made up bullshit anyway, and the reason, like, in their texts and everything, they incorporate so many non sequiturs and things that are just completely arbitrary and dumb, is because it's a method of reprogramming your own modality of thinking. So, like, take the calendar, for instance. Most of the world follows the 7 days a week, 12 months in the year, 365 days a year. It doesn't matter. Like, it's made up. Like, there's no, you can't watch the Earth revolve around the sun and point out to me when was Tuesday. It's just it's a way of forcing yourself to look at things through the lens of, this is a structure that was just kind of foisted upon me that I just arbitrarily follow.
Yeah, and it's also, like, one of the best examples of that I can think of is looking at how, like, mathematics are taught, right? Like, the difference between base 10 and base 8 mathematics.
I don't even understand any of that shit at all.
Yeah, it's fucking made up. It's all just construct.
You can have a base anything number system.
I don't
you just
get
need
it.
more symbols.
I don't get it. I don't math. Math is hard.
Can't count in binary.
No. 1 0. There. Nailed it.
No. Not even.
Fuck.
There are 8 digits in a string of binary.
God damn it. See, I don't math. I don't know. So
that's fine. It's fine. It's okay. I don't books. You don't math. Together we make one functioning dumb guy.
Yep. And only barely.
We're together, we're trusted to pay one person's taxes, and really we shouldn't even be trusted with that.
No, because every single time you and I are left to our own devices, some really, really dumb shit happens.
Yeah, like we almost burn down your apartment.
Yeah.
Or we lock ourselves out of your apartment. Or we
get lost in a suburb. Yeah, like in a cul-de-sac. I think it was we got lost in a cul-de-sac.
Yeah, we couldn't find our way out of a place that had one exit, and the exit was the same as the entrance. We couldn't do it. Fucking best it again.
Yeah.
I really feel like we might be really good candidates for Discordianism.
Yeah, or full frontal lobotomies.
Same shit. Whatever. It's all fucking made up. Who cares? There's some other really fun things with Discordianism, though. I feel like circling back to the thing that I was talking about closer to the beginning before I, just kind of word vomited stuff for the next hour.
Liquid hot dogs?
The idea of, like, the hierarchy in Discordianism.
Oh, yeah.
Is fucking hilarious to me. And it's done in a way that, like, perfectly establishes a hierarchy and then just completely disregards it.
Right, and like you would mention the popes. You can also just become a saint of Eris, and you can write your own book and do whatever the fuck you want with it. Nobody has to take it into account, but the fact that you have ordained yourself as a saint, some people, I guess, who don't know what Discordianism is, might take that as some kind of credibility. But by having lots of different people write different books, it doesn't matter anyway. You could perceive Eris in a completely different way than I do. It doesn't matter. It's all made up.
Yeah, it's a very psychological model way of looking at stuff. In as much as, like, the idea is that you are accessing your own brain's fucking coding, but not coding, like, you're accessing the way that your brain processes information, and then you're tricking that. Like, you're, like, fucking with it.
I mean, that gets to the point of, you know, kind of realizing, getting to the point of a sort of quote-unquote enlightenment where you realize, you know, there is no ultimate truth, and, like, everything is based on my own perception. It's all just a methodology of getting yourself to this very basic understanding that everything is based on my own conceptions, and I don't need your fucking rules, old man.
Yeah, fuck you, old man. You ain't never fought in no war. Like, it doesn't matter. You can just do whatever. The idea in there is there's a whole thing in there about creating a Discordian coven. I forget what the actual word they use is. You can create one, and then you can create one without being ordained, and then you can create one for which nobody's allowed to join.
Which just reminds me, I think it was Groucho Marx who said, I would never want to be part of an organization that would have me as a member anyway. And that was the point they had brought up as far as, like, being ordained. Like, well, if you want to be ordained, what better person to decide whether or not you deserve to be ordained than you? So, if you think you should be ordained, ordain yourself.
So the way that you become the Pope in Discordianism is you say, I am the Pope.
Yep.
There. I just became the Pope of Discordianism.
Yeah.
By declaring myself a Pope of Discord.
Yeah, and if you go on, grab the PDF and print off the page, you can be a card-carrying Pope. You can print off your Pope card and carry that around with you.
I don't know if you can see it over there. I've got a printer now.
Oh shit, you're really moving up in the world. It's right next to your microwave, isn't it?
It's there, and there's also, it also can scan things. So I could print off my card to be a card-carrying Pope, and then scan it so that I would have a backup of it, just in case.
But you could just print off 2 copies.
And then scan them both so I have 2 backups. Very good idea. That's using your fucking noodle there, Yara.
Yeah, that's...
Yep.
That's
good,
what that
idea,
is.
Yara.
Fuck.
That might be the best idea you've ever had. Was printing off 2 Pope cards and then scanning them both.
Yeah.
So that I've got backups.
Fuck. I guess I can trade in my fucking degree. I don't need that shit anymore. I'm just printing copies.
You could take your degree and then on the back of it, print your Pope card.
I could. I kind of feel like doing that now.
You would have a Pope degree.
That would be fantastic.
It would be the most useful thing your degree's ever done.
Yeah. Yes, I have a bachelor's degree in the papacy.
That's such a good idea.
What do you have, you fucking nerd?
You don't have a bachelor's Pope card. There we go, Pope card. There it is. Nailed it. I'm the best. The best that ever was.
Yeah, you just need to get on my 2 copies level, bitch.
Yeah, pretty much. I need to get on that. What I think I'm going to do is I'm going to print mine on the back of... I think they mail out, like, Taco Bell coupons here. If they do, I'm printing mine on that.
Yes, I get free tacos for life. I'm the Pope.
I'm the Pope. How dare you not give the Pope free tacos?
What kind of backwoods heathenry is this bullshit? Feed me Supremes.
That would be so great. I would be so happy if that worked. If I pulled that off. that might be the greatest thing.
Oh, God.
To have ever happened. Oh, God. I actually have a headache right now from thinking about it.
Maybe you should loosen up your Pope hat.
No, I will not. You don't tell the Pope what to do with his hat.
That's true. But from one Pope to another, I think you should calm down. Loosen up the hat.
Well, strictly speaking, as two popes to another two popes.
We're going to have to print out 4 copies.
Well, yeah, because you're going to have double pope.
God.
I'm going to have... This is just getting entirely off the goddamn rails.
This is getting bureaucratic. I don't like it.
Yeah, you're right. This is... we don't... The last thing the Pope needs is triplicate.
Yep.
Oof. All right, let's go ahead and get our first break in here, and then we can come back and talk a little bit more about...
Discord. I was thinking getting into like Discordian philosophy in regards to actual magical practice. We here at the Faith Blind Council would like to take this time to thank our newest sponsor, the Folk Magic Society. The Folk Magic Society is a group of like-minded individuals that explores how people do magic around the world and discusses spells, divination, dolls, talismans, baths, candles, oils, astrology, and any personal experience that you would want to share. The host, Randolph Carter, is an archaeologist with a wealth of knowledge of the history of magic and spiritual practices. The Folk Magic Society is based in Minnesota and meets the second Saturday of each month at Magus Books at 1848 Central Avenue Northeast in Minneapolis. So if you're in the area and want to learn more about the cultural history of magic, be sure to check them out. We would like to give a shout out to the Chaos Coven, or Church of Nothing. The Chaos Coven is a Chicago-based chaos magic working group led by Naya Ein and Ninov. They host workshops every third Saturday of the month from 3 to 5 p.m. at the Occult Bookstore in Chicago, Illinois. Considered by some to be the oldest spirit shop in the world. Each class is pay as thou wilt with a $15 suggested donation. You can find the Chaos Coven and the Occult Bookstore on Facebook or occultbookstore.com.
And now we're back. Let's talk some more about so we had kind of covered the holidays a little bit, I feel like, but
we covered most of the basic tenets, which is don't believe anything you read, never eat hot dog buns except on a Friday when it's required, the calendar, the law of fives.
The law of fives. I think that's pretty much that. As far as tenets go, there really aren't a lot that matter when it comes to Discordianism. So the thing, and we'd been touching on this before the break. A lot of what Discordianism does at its core is it recognizes the duality between chaos and order, and the throughway in which chaos has an effect on order is through sowing discord.
Yeah, because like with the hodgepodge, chaos and order exist in a balance. It's always in a balance. That's why you have that ebb and flow with chaos, discord, confusion, bureaucracy, and aftermath, is because once one starts getting overloaded, the other starts balancing itself out. But I also I wanted to start getting into like more of the philosophy of like incorporating magic with Discordianism. so you have these order and tenets, and in the Book of Eris it has a chapter that's just dedicated to like Discordian philosophy is in regards to magic. How the Book of Eris describes it, which again, fuck it, like if you don't want to follow this, whatever, this is how it's written in this text. And from some of the Discordians that I've met, they pretty much follow the same thing, but it's all whatever you want. So everything being comprised of energy, so that they do kind of follow the whole energy model that we've discussed, except like when you do a ritual or do any magic, what you are doing is you are putting out energy in order to change things. They don't necessarily, or at least in the Book of Eris, it says they don't necessarily follow things like astrology and tarot and any form of divination or shit like that, because that is an ordered system. And not only is it an ordered system, it presupposes fate, it presupposes predestination, and with that predestination, that implies that everything is ordered, when in fact, with Discordianism, everything is chaos.
And very much when it comes to using any kind of divination system or like divinatory tool, you are at the very least presupposing that there is a pattern to something. Right. And that kind of is contrary to the core philosophy of Discordianism, which is to say that none of the patterns are real. They are all made up. Right. And by that being a thing, like, in that way, any of those patterns, because they're made up, are completely invalid, because they don't have any larger meaning.
Right. But even within, like, the tenets of like, pure chaos magic, as, like, written by Peter Carroll, because he had, I think it was in Cyber Magic, he had written that when it comes to things like, when it comes to your practice, you should always, like, enchant things for the long term, but divine for the short term. Because when it comes to divination, because the universe is so chaotic, there are an infinite number of variables that can happen between now and, like, any point in the future, that the further you go in, or the further you look towards the future, or divine towards the future, the more hazy it's going to be, because there are too many variables to account for.
Yes, and what that realistically ends up looking like is you're going to start looking for patterns that aren't there.
Right. And that gets to the whole, like, heavy belief, or, like, kind of a dogmatic following to your own apophenia.
Which, utilizing and kind of abusing apophenia has its purpose, right? But if you are getting to a point where you're no longer recognizing that that's what you're doing, you are losing control of that system.
Right, and the entire point of Discordianism is to realize that any system, any rule set, any set of laws or order is bullshit and made up. So any pattern that you could possibly derive from any system, the system itself is garbage, so the pattern is garbage. It doesn't fucking matter.
Yeah, and it not even so much that it's garbage. It's garbage because it is entirely constructed by people.
Right.
Or, it's
or yourself.
It's entirely constructed within your own mind.
Right, and the human mind cannot possibly even begin to fathom the complexities of the universe in itself for you to even devise a system that says this is how it works.
Yeah. And therefore, divination is kind of useless to a Discordian.
Right. But as far as their magical system laid out in Book of Eris, by putting out energy, you put it out for the reasons of causing change. So this very, very much follows, like, the whole chaos theory thing with, or, like, butterfly effect kind of thing. That would be the basis of their practice. So you make a small change that will then avalanche into what you're desiring it to, or what you were desiring for an outcome. You are putting out that energy in order to alter any future event. Other focuses that they have that are listed in there are, like, sowing discord in other people, and by putting out that creative, chaotic energy towards them, having them more align themselves with your path. Which is to say that path is by doing what thou wilt and following your true nature. The closer you are to your true nature, having other people, like, putting out energy to abandon their bureaucracy and their system of rules in order to get more in line with the true nature of things.
Yeah, it's very much a system that is set up in a way that is kind of like results by attrition, really. You are stripping away the fallacy, and in so doing, you are revealing what is real.
Right. And that's another thing that that Wilson talked about in Illuminatus, was the whole concept of like culture jamming. And with that, so like, you're pissed off at the government, you fucking hate the government, it's dumb. So like, take for example the federal illegality of marijuana. You think that is a fucking dumb thing. So,
right.
What do you do in order to stop that? Well, you sow discord. And in order to sow discord, what you do is you start putting out petitions to fucking ban catnip. Because if you think it's dumb for them to ban this herb, why not fucking ban this other one? And then, by sowing that discord, you will have other people realize this is a fucking dumb law. Why are we just arbitrarily banning plants? And then you get your result.
So it seems like, it also seems very much that it's something that isn't so focused on individual results as it is on focusing on like shifting consciousness.
Yeah, because that another like facet of Discordian magical practice is not just working on outside, but also changing your own feelings and your own emotions and the way you think and approach different situations.
Yeah, the idea is to become malleable, and by understanding that everything is fucking fake, like, it's, you can do any of these things, but what will you do? And that's what the aim is.
Yeah, and it gets back to that thing that I had said earlier, like, yeah, you can play nice, you can take part in whatever, but with the understanding that you don't need these fucking rules. You don't need them. You don't need to follow any of these. You're not bound by anything. Like, you understand that when it comes to certain things, like as a society, as a species, that there are behavioral patterns that do exist. You don't have to follow along with them. However, just like in nature where any animal that follows its instinctual habits, its instinctual nature, will just go along with what it's going to do without any forethought, like a lion is going to hunt a zebra. You just follow your instinct. You follow what you are naturally inclined towards. And so by going with what you are naturally inclined towards, that's where you try and shape your own personality, you shape your own decisions to realize, like, yes, I can follow these rules, but with society, with our species, there's a natural, albeit chaotic, way that we deal with each other. However, it still is within a system of chaos without any law. I mean, except unless you like lump in like the law of nature, which in itself is just the flip side to chaos. So you understand that, yes, there are natural laws, there are natural behaviors and things that you do, but it goes back to that point of going along with universal change and, as you had said, becoming malleable, accepting those changes as they happen and going along with it.
I feel like that one of the key things that is like misunderstood is not that there are like yes, there are these natural predilections to things, right? you are going to do things instinctually, but to try and ascribe some kind of pattern to it is where you're getting into, like, okay, but what does this pattern mean? It doesn't actually fucking mean anything, because there's only the action and then the next action and then the next action.
Yeah, it's it's very much like with the idea of a sort of enlightenment, how it's very much a live in the now, live in the present kind of thing. And yes, any magic towards like changing the outcome of things, yes, you could do a ritual or whatever in order to change something in the future. However, you're still focused on now. So, like, it's, say you do like a wealth ritual or some shit like that. Like, you need fucking extra $100 to pay the rent. You understand that, you know, you're doing something for the future, but right now you are living in a present in which you might have bad things coming to you that you want to take care of your present self. So that way you're still going along with the natural flow of the universe, and you accept that that there's good chaos and there is bad chaos. There is destructive chaos and there is constructive chaos. And it's kind of like the whole middle path thing, but you are still taking care of an instinctual thing. So when, say, it's the rent money, that's still a very instinctual need to survive and have shelter. Living in the now, following a middle path, and going with the flow kind of thing, even if you do have designs for changing future events or changing things that, like, yes, say there's a prohibition on some bullshit that you don't want there to be a prohibition on, well, that prohibition in itself is representative of a bureaucracy, of a law, of a system in which we are not 100% free, autonomous individuals.
Well, and it's also a thing where you're getting into, like, you can make these things that are indicative of desires you have, but it's what you were just saying, like, those are desires that you have now.
Yes.
It's not about what you're tapping into. It's not about what you want in the future to happen. It's about the idea that you want that to happen now. Not that, like, you're impatient and I want this now, but, like, right now that's what you want. So you're doing things. What is your instinctual action then, based on what you want now?
Right. And, like, you're using that as I mean, most of our things that we desire are driven by an instinctual need at some level. And with that instinctual need, that still follows, like, along the whole nature of the universe thing, where it's based primarily on survival, be it social survival or, like, actual survival. These are still things that you need for yourself as an individual in order to continue this life.
And that's, again, like you had just said, it's whether or not you're talking, it doesn't matter whether or not you're talking about the survival of the individual or the survival of the species. Those are things that are presently desired, I guess is the best way to put it.
Yeah, as Wilson had mentioned in Illuminatus, and I'm pretty sure it's mentioned in Principia Discordia, and it shows up a lot in Chaos Magic, the concept of immanentizing the eschaton. So, to immanentize the eschaton is to bring about the end times. And the end times isn't necessarily like, yeah, we're all gonna fucking nuke ourselves and the end. Instead, it can be the end of the current mode of thinking, the end of the current era. And
yeah,
with
you're bringing about like aeon shifts.
Yes. And as it's mentioned in the Book of Eris how, like, when you go from bureaucracy, what tends to happen in Aftermath, once you get to Aftermath, that's when people stop putting so much faith in structured organization, in traditional systems of believing things, and instead rely more on intuition, rely more on magic, and rely more on their own way of doing things, and aligning themselves with how the universe works. And by immanentizing the eschaton, therefore you are coming back to that more primordial state, which Ovid had talked about in Metamorphoses, what the Golden Age. So the time in which there was no strife, in which there was nothing shitty happening. This was the time before Eris had thrown the fucking apple and caused the Trojan War, which, according to the Greeks, that was the fucking war that started all wars. The time before that, when we as a species lived in total harmony with nature and the universe. That's what you're striving towards.
Which is, like, if you were to try and pin down, I guess, an ultimate goal, it's very, like, diet anti-cosmic magic.
In as much, like, you're not going after the total fucking order of the universe. You're going, like,
not the heat death of the universe.
Yeah, you're not. Yeah, you're not
just the end of the current order of
Yeah.
civilization.
Yeah, you're not trying to crush it all. You're just trying to go back to the Golden Age where we could just fuck in the streets.
Yeah, I mean, who doesn't want that? Fucking squares, dude.
It's the worst rule.
Yeah, it's the fucking gray-faced buzzkills, dude. Like,
yeah,
they're the ones. The fucking killjoys, dude. They're the worst. I don't know where I'm going with this, but now I'm mad. Day 1, mad. Day 2, I'm still mad. But no, there's a lot of and it goes back to things we had talked about before. There's a lot of inherently left-handed stuff that happens in any type of magical system that has an aim to especially bring about, like, a shift in consciousness, is going to be inherently left-handed.
Right, because you are looking out for yourself, and it being left-handed, leaning to the fact, like, I don't want to have to worry about all of this bullshit and working in this system that I don't agree with and I didn't fucking sign up for anymore. Like, sometime during the 80s, my parents decided to fuck and now I gotta pay bills and shit. I didn't sign up for that.
Probably it was in the back of a Ford Fiesta.
Yeah, who fucking knows? Listening to, like, fucking Billy Ray Cyrus, I don't fucking know. But it makes me mad.
Probably the Cars.
Yeah. It makes me mad. I didn't sign up for this shit, but now I have to work within this system. Why the fuck not dismantle it to get back to a point when I don't have to anymore? And I can just, chug all the fucking liquid hot dogs I want and fuck in the streets.
Yeah, from the microwave in your bedroom.
Yep.
Yes. Yeah, that's the goal.
Hold on. I can't fuck right now. I have to go warm up my liquid hot dog. It's getting a little cold out here in the brisk January air. I'll be right back with a warm bowl of hot dog soup.
Jeez. Hot dog soup. That sounds really appetizing. And by appetizing, I mean...
vomit inducing.
Nauseating.
Yeah, sure. That's a word. Fuck
yeah.
It. Why not? So that's kind of like, I guess I feel like that's a pretty good, like, overall explanation of the aim of Discordian systems of magic. I'm not super familiar with the, like, mechanics of Discordian magic, but if you're talking about believing in energy model and doing a lot of that kind of work, I can't imagine, like, if you're breaking down the idea of order, I can't imagine there's a lot of use for sympathetic magic.
Not necessarily. It's so going according to their philosophy, it's not so much the ritual that matters as the will behind it. So it's still very much within that chaos magic vein where belief is a tool. And it's not so much what you're doing, but the intent behind it. What you're actually doing it for. So going back to like the first fucking episode on this show, it doesn't matter if I'm in order to banish my room, I do the fucking lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram or fucking chuck a hunk of ham at my wall.
The lesser banishing of the pentaham. You throw 5 hams at the wall.
God damn it.
And 1 at the ceiling.
Yep.
You can't softball them to me like that.
No.
You don't want me doing it. Because
Yeah.
I'm just doing what I wilt. And that is making awesome dad jokes.
Yeah. I feel
Frauder
like
dad. Frauder dad.
I feel like I should incarcerate myself for having lobbed that one at you.
That was real, you really Bucknered it. It's fine.
Yep. Just fucking ground ball. I'm just looking at my watch. Busy. Oh shit, there's the World Series? Nah.
He's probably thinking about hot dogs, if we're being honest.
I mean, he was in a fucking stadium, so...
True. And that's where you get, like, the best hot dogs.
It's not so much the ritual itself as the will behind it and what your intent is. And so they had actually had in one of the texts kind of like a parable sort of thing of 2 Wiccans and a Discordian all decide to invoke. And one Wiccan starts the invocation and she starts to shake and shudder and then speaks in a deep, tremulous voice, "I am the hunter, and the light is the dark, and we will all return to the path." And she comes back to, and both of the Wiccans realize that they have received ancient knowledge. And then the second Wiccan goes to invoke and begins to shake and shudder, and then speaks with a deep, tremulous voice, "I am the hunter, and the light is the dark, and we will all go to the path." And then comes to, and both of the Wiccans realize they have received ancient knowledge. And then up comes the Discordian, and it is the Discordian's turn to invoke. And she doesn't shake, she doesn't shudder, she just starts to laugh. And continue laughing, and then runs out of breath, and keeps laughing again. And both of the Wiccans look at her.
Like a smoker's laugh. Like a...
Yeah!
Like Tom Cruise.
Yes!
Just... Okay.
And then both of the Wiccans are like, what happened? Like, that wasn't anything. We received no ancient knowledge. They didn't realize that, in fact, the Discordian had invoked Eris, and Eris thinks it's dumb, and you can't tell a goddess what to fucking do anyway. And nobody received any ancient wisdom.
There's a thing like that kind of like hits with me though, right? Because if you're actually invoking these deities, what's to say they actually have shit to say to you all the time, anytime you want to invoke?
Right.
Like, what's to say that? What if you just invoke one and they're just like, they show up and they're just like, fuck off! And then, like, you're back to being normal again.
Right, like, who's to say, like, I invoke Astaroth, and he's just like, "Hey, man, have they released season 2 of The Witcher yet?" Like, no, it's still filming right now. "Well, hit me back up when it's released." All right, dude. Cool. Is there anything else? "Yeah, you're fucking low on pickles." "Oh, thanks, man. I was gonna make a sandwich later." "I got you." All right. It doesn't have to be some deep, insightful thing.
Like, there's a story, when I was doing a lot of work with Goetia, there was this story that someone had told me about invoking Amon and being like, "What do? I need help with this thing." And Amon just being like, "Dude, clean your fucking room."
You summon an ancient deity and you haven't done your laundry?
Sounds like he summoned Jordan Peterson.
This is why your life is in shambles, Frater Dad. Go to a laundromat.
Fucking get the cum-stained sweatpants off the ceiling. Take them down. Fucking launder them or incinerate them. I don't care at this point.
But they add to the ambience.
I'll tell you who wouldn't care about that. The Trash King.
No. Trash King don't care.
Goddamn right. But yeah, it's a thing that's always kind of hit with me. This idea that like you can summon these entities, spirits, Goetia, demons, gods, whatever, right? What's to say that they're going to fucking work with you? What's to say that they're gonna have anything to say to you?
Right, and some of the texts that I've looked at had even brought that up, like talking about, okay, well, Eris is chaos. So, if Eris talks to you, she talks to you. Like, you're the one who decides whether or not she's actually talking to you. Who am I to tell you what she's saying? Like, if she just decides to fucking chill out on your couch and, like, play euchre with you, like, that's what she's gonna do. She helps you write a book? Cool. Like, I can't tell you what she's going to act like, because she is chaos embodied.
And it's also a thing of, like, you see this a lot in chaos magic in general. The idea of, if you're going to work with god form, you need to understand all of what you are working with. Because who's to say what you're going to get? Especially working with something like Eris or fucking, I don't know, any like trickster god, right?
Yeah.
Like Coyote.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, they told me to do this. Oh, it's a fucking trickster god, bro. Like, what do you mean you're surprised that your tires got slashed and fucking all of your friends took your shit?
What are you even talking to me for? Give me your wallet.
Clean your fucking room. For the last time, I'm not your goddamn dog. I don't know. But it definitely seems like a very different way of looking at magic, especially for people that are a little that are newer to magic in general. Because and we've talked about this before, the idea that a lot of people, when they come into doing magic, are looking for results. They're looking to do like sorcery, results-based magic, right?
Yeah.
You aren't really aiming for that if you're doing purely Discordian magic. Like, you may have ideas for results, but those results are going to be secondary, it seems like.
Yeah, and you had just reminded me, this is appropriate on our Discord server.
Hey,
a few people had mentioned to us that part of the reason it took them a while to start practicing was the feeling that they just felt silly doing it.
Yeah, it's fucking weird. Doing magic is weird. You sit in a room, you tape a piece of paper to the wall, you start jacking off, and the next thing you know, you just see a bunch of colors. It's a weird fucking time.
I'm just jerking off in notebooks and I found $20. That's it.
I'm learning that I will never look at an Andy Warhol painting the same ever again. That's what it did to me.
So, like, they had said, like, part of the reason they didn't practice was because they felt weird, and they didn't want to jump into this thing because, like, okay, I'm going to do a banishing. Well, now I have to say things out loud and act things out, and this is weird. And there's that whole, like, barrier that you have to push past. But, yeah, you gotta do it. It's fucking weird. It's weird. We're all weird people.
Yeah, I mean, look at fucking, like, Alan Moore, right? Do you think Alan Moore in any way is, like, a normal dude?
Nope.
No, he's a Rasputin impersonator. He's a mall Santa. He writes comic books and is a magician.
Yep.
And
he's in a fucking wizard battle with Grant Morrison.
That's been going on for decades. For decades, these dudes have been wizard battling each. That means at least once a week, both of these guys are sitting down in rooms in separate parts of the world, thinking about each other and how much they hate each other while they're jacking off. Magic is fucking weird.
See, and like I just picture one of them going along is like, okay, well, oh shit, there's a hole in my shoe. God damn it, Alan!
Right? Just being mad. And like, that's the thing. That means when Grant Morrison sees a hole in his shoe, he knows objectively that Alan Moore jacked off better than him.
It's fucking metaphysical sword fighting.
It really is. So yeah, magic is fucking silly and weird.
This is not something normal people do.
No.
And yet, it is exactly what the Discordians are trying to dismantle. Fuck that normal shit. I'm gonna jerk off on whatever I choose to. I'm gonna put holes in all of the shoes. I'm going to sit there and fucking watch Friends with Astaroth.
Like the idea, so if we're using the hole in the shoe analogy, right? What you would be doing with Discordian magic if you wanted Alan Moore to have a hole in his shoe, you would be doing something that would you would make Crocs. You would make Crocs so that holes are just in shoes now. And then Alan Moore's got a hole in his shoe. Because Alan Moore wears Crocs. You know it.
Yeah.
He can't not wear Crocs. Look at that man.
It is something weird, and I think that Discordianism helps with that because it approaches it from very much a standpoint of, yes, this is fucking weird. Like, this is not something normal people do. Embrace that.
Well, it's also a system that doesn't try to sell you on the results.
Because it had said multiple times, it's not about being serious about anything. In fact, we don't take serious things humorously. We take humor very seriously.
And it's one of those things where you would have, if you were to talk to a root worker, right, and ask them okay, well, why should I consider doing this? They're going to tell you because it works, right? They're going to tell you, I don't know how all these things work, but it works. I've been doing this. I've been carrying this money sachet with me. I've been burying this shit at a crossroads for the last, 3 years, and I've been getting 10% more income year over year. It works, right? If you were to ask a Discordian, why do you do this? They're going to look at you and be like, fuck. That's just what they're going to do. They're just going to look at you and fuck, and then walk away. It doesn't try to sell you on some shtick.
Why do you do that? Why not? Your life seems significantly more boring now that you're not doing this.
Now that you know this thing exists and you actively choose not to do it, go buy yourself some New Balances. Start mowing the lawn. Get real mad if someone touches your fucking grill, I guess. I don't know. Pick a sports team. Whatever the fuck it is that you do. But that's the fucking hook, right? It's yes, it is weird. You've already lived the part of your life where you haven't tried it.
Yeah, I'm gonna... Next thing, it might help me, with my parking tickets if I send my printer installation instructions to my local senator.
Yeah, fuck it.
So now I'm going to do that, and so I won't get parking tickets anymore.
Yeah, but the trick is you have to then believe that is happening. It's kind of if you read Advanced Magic for Beginners by Chapman, where Chapman talks about when you create a ritual, the idea is that a ritual has a desire and then an experience, and then your belief that undergoing the experience is the same as experiencing your desire.
Right, and like we had said with Discordianism, it's not what the ritual is, it's the intent behind it.
It's not about what you're doing at all. Like, you can do anything you want for magic. But if you don't know what you want, that's where you need to, like, break down those patterns. In Discordianism, you're breaking down those patterns to see what it is you will do when there are no patterns, because that will then reveal to you what you want.
Right, and so, honestly, it's more of a methodology to become more in touch with your true will.
Yeah, exactly. It's very much like, it is very sarcastic insight meditation.
Insight meditation with sass.
Yeah, it's like it's very much like if Hunter S. Thompson wrote the guide on fucking insight meditation.
I would read the fuck out of that.
It would be the first good thing that Hunter S. Thompson wrote.
I mean, I'd still read the fuck out of it.
Actually, I take that back. That one open letter he wrote when he was running for, like, mayor of some city in Colorado was really
sheriff. He was running for sheriff.
Sheriff. Whatever the fuck it was he was running for. It doesn't matter. Like, he just picked a thing that was open. I'm pretty sure. Speaking of which, and this is only tangentially related, did you see that Vermin Supreme actually filed papers to run this year?
Didn't he always?
No.
Oh.
He didn't. He actually filed, like, campaign finance report paperwork to actually run for president this year.
That's awesome.
And I'm pretty sure he got on the ballot in New Hampshire. Like, something's fucking weird.
That would be a state.
Well, no, and that is kind of related to Discordianism, because one of their, like, patron saints is that, I forget his name, but he was this one dude in San Francisco in the 19th century, just declared himself Emperor of California.
Emperor Norton.
Yeah, there we go. Emperor Norton.
Joshua Abraham Norton.
Yeah, he's a fucking saint.
Yeah.
That's pretty funny. Dude. Like,
yeah, because the reason why is because he decided to live his life according to his will. Like, he decided that he's emperor. He is now emperor. And they're, like, at his funeral, thousands upon thousands of people attended because he was always around town, like, giving out money for his empire, which was
great.
Which is just, like, completely worthless in as far as the fucking government's concerned, but not his empire. He has his own money, and this is the empire's money. And he's just doing empirical shit while just walking the streets of California, claiming himself as emperor.
Really, what else do you need, though?
Right, and that's why he's a patron saint, because he's fucking awesome. Like, he decided, he chose his reality, and that's the reality he's fucking sticking to. And I respect that go-get-him attitude, Emperor Norton.
That, dude. Not the same one who made the shitty antivirus software. Not that guy. Fuck that Norton. And not Ed Norton. Fuck that guy, too. Emperor Norton. That's the guy.
So yeah, Vermin Supreme he's like a, if you were to consider, like, fucking Emperor Norton as being chaotic neutral, Vermin Supreme is more like lawful neutral.
Vermin Supreme is like, Vermin Supreme is very much like if you ordered Emperor Norton off the lunch menu.
Yeah, that makes sense.
As much sense as anything else.
It's a smaller portion. It's not gonna fill you up as much.
Lower calorie emperor.
Yeah, you want to get some chaos in you, but you still got to get shit done. Like, you still got to go back to work or whatever. Just get a little Vermin Supreme.
You can't do emperor shit like walking the streets and handing out empire cash.
He can't even afford a hat. He's got a boot. Of course he can't hand out money for his empire. All right, that I think is going to be a pretty good place to get our next break in. I feel like we've done a pretty good job covering the very basics of Discordianism. Hopefully, we will be able to look into doing a bonus interview series with some people that are actual Discordians and kind of know what they're talking about. And maybe won't be quite as fucking stupid as us. Who knows?
Yeah.
But I feel like that's a pretty good, very basic. Again, Principia Discordia, Book of Eris, Jonesboro Discordia, like, those are the books you really want to check out if you're interested in doing Discordianism. In
fact, most of the Discordian texts are available for free online because they were released within like public interest anyway. Like Principia Discordia was released with no copyright. It was printed off on Xerox. So he just handed it out.
Yeah, I mean there's all kinds of stuff on the internet. You could probably find it. I'm sure. But we're going to do another real quick break, and then when we come back, we're going to talk to Cologne about the stuff that happened after last episode, and then hand out some new assignments for this episode. So we're going to do a quick break, and we will be right back.
We'd like to take a moment to thank our sponsor, Welcome to Paradise. I know from personal experience that it can be really difficult to get the occult and ritual tools you need to continue or even begin your practice. Welcome to Paradise is an up-and-coming occult supply store that was created for magicians by magicians. Each and every item is either handcrafted or personally vetted by one of the practicing occultists that make up their team. Not only do they offer ritual and magical tools, Welcome to Paradise can also provide you with detailed tarot readings, occult-themed bone art, pendulums, one-of-a-kind rosaries, or even basic magical kits to help you on your journey through the great work. Welcome to Paradise is looking to build a community of magicians, whether veterans or novices, that seeks to help other practitioners hone their craft regardless of their path. So, if you're on the lookout for ritual materials from hoodoo to Wicca to left-hand path and more, or if you're an artist that's wanting an outlet for their occult or magical themed goods, be sure to check out WelcomeToParadise.com.
Okay, here we are. Let's talk about assignments. We need to come up with a better word than assignment. I don't know how I feel
Go
about
home
that.
and do your homework.
I don't appreciate it very much.
No.
But fuck it. We'll do that later. Let's talk about it. So last month, you had a couple of challenges that I don't remember because I don't take notes.
Good job.
I forgot my notes today because I came straight from work and was thinking I don't have to stop at home for anything, and nope. Apparently I should have.
We're killing it. We're so good at this.
Yep.
I want to say, because we were talking about left-hand path, right-hand path.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure my challenge was to examine your practice and think about things you do that and categorize, like, what things fall under left-hand path and what things fall under right-hand path.
Yeah. Yep. That's essentially what I had. So want me to just go right into that one?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like you don't have to get into specifics, obviously, if you don't want to. But what kind of experience did you have categorizing those? Because I remember you had said that wasn't a thing you usually do.
No, I was just talking with Yara earlier, being like, I'm really not good at putting things into categories. Because I'm always like, well, it's kind of this, but it's also kind of this, and I don't know which it is. So I started kind of thinking of things, because we were talking about left and right hand path and the different ways of applying that term or those terms, and one being towards more like technique and one maybe being more towards the intent, and so I would say that in general, like going through those two different things, like, because I was trying to think of like, okay, look at my practices. Are any of my practices more fundamentally like right hand or left hand path? And I like things like meditation probably would be kind of right hand pathish, but at the same time I use technique that is from like the Libra MMM.
Mm-hmm.
And also the intent of it is primarily selfish. It's all about, my own mind control and using it that way. Things like social magic. I don't do as much like results magic. I do some, but not a lot. Most of my magic is all about changing my interior self and that. And on one hand, I was thinking, well, that's left-hand path because it's all very selfish. I'm not here to like go and do things for other people. I don't heal other people. I don't do things that it's all about just improving myself and changing my consciousness and changing how I perceive things and making myself stronger. But it seems like some right-hand path stuff kind of calls for that as well.
Right, because remember, as we had said, like one of the other differences between left and right hand is like left-hand path is following your own route and doing what you desire, what you want, versus the right hand, which is going more towards becoming one with the nature of things. And so, arguably, it could be said that the Discordianism that we have just discussed and becoming one with the nature of the universe and the chaos of the universe and how that goes could be seen as right-hand path.
Yeah, and I suppose, going down, my current magical path where I think about how I am working on getting more in touch with my intuition, and in some sense, you could say my natural self could be seen as right-hand path.
Yeah.
But also, I would also say it's very left-hand path because a lot of, just my technique of how I kind of do it and the way I think about it is definitely I don't follow any particular tradition,
right,
at all. I haven't really gotten deep into paradigms yet, which might be changing here in a moment, I'm guessing.
Well, and that's something that is also kind of the point of doing an exercise like that is understanding that there aren't any 100% pures.
Yeah,
there is no 100% right-hand path magic. There is no 100% left-hand path magic. They interplay a lot. There's a lot of things meditation in and of itself is a right-hand path technique.
Yeah.
But if you're putting a different intent behind it, it becomes a left-handed item, a left-handed tool that you're using. If you're meditating on a sigil that is, that sigil is being charged to fucking murder your boss or something, that's left-hand path as fuck, but you're accessing it using a traditionally right-handed technique. These things, there isn't anything that is 100% one or the other.
Well, yeah, that seems obvious.
But
thanks for teaching that to me.
Yeah, there's an easy, it's easy to sit there and say that, but I mean, chaos magic is all about your personal experience, and you can read that in 1,000 books, and it's not going to hit the same as if you were to sit down and categorize the things you do. So that that's something that is it took me a while to understand that about chaos magic, even though I've been doing it for however fucking long. It doesn't really matter. It took me a while to understand, and it kind of ties back to Discordianism. I don't have to do things this way. It doesn't matter. This is a made-up rule. Somebody wrote this book. It doesn't matter. I don't have to do things in these planetary hours at this time and this, using this fucking incantation. That's bullshit, made up, whatever.
It's all made up and the points don't matter.
Yep. And that would be one of the draws for me to chaos magic to begin with, because my natural skeptic nature and the way that it doesn't take itself overly seriously, where it's it's about what your intent and your belief in it that's what it's about. So I don't have to be you don't actually have to believe these things. You have to use these tools to for
Yeah.
what you want to use them for. It's
As
about,
opposed to like blind faith or just, following dogmatic tradition because you have to do it.
Yeah.
That you just have to.
As opposed to like, okay, well, this magic didn't work, and it was probably because you didn't have this ultra rare fucking component that would cost you $16,000 to get a hold of, and you didn't do 18 months of preparatory hyssop bathing. Like, no, it didn't work because you didn't believe it was going to work. It didn't work because your intent wasn't there. Like, I would say it's not that chaos magic doesn't take itself seriously. It's that chaos magic doesn't take the rules seriously. Because the rules are arbitrary. What's important is your intent and your belief. Like, it works because you believe it works. There was another challenge, and that's the one that I can't really remember what it was.
The other challenge was the one that I had given, which was to take something that is sacred and subvert it.
And this one has a winding path as far as going down it, because because the example you gave, which I latched onto at first, was to something like you're using your magical practice and stuff. And I was thinking about that and thinking, well, I use a lot of objects in my magical practice right now.
Yeah.
It's just not the nature of my magical practice. I don't have statues and stuff like that. So I instead kind of thought about how, I've been using like certain Catholic things and subverting those things a lot. And I got this idea in my head that I have this decade rosary that I got after my grandfather died. It's supposedly the beads are made out of the roses that were at his funeral. I'm skeptical if that's true or it's just some bullshit the funeral home tells you. But in any case, it's one of those little things where, my grandmother wanted each of us to have something the funeral home sells you. So it's like, I'll take that because it's representative of something of his faith. And, it's
right.
It appealed to me more than the other options, like little placards and crap. So a decade rosary, if you don't know, is a sort of like a bracelet rosary. It has 10 beads on it and stuff, like the whole necklace thing and stuff. And I thought, because one of the things might be getting a little personal here, talking with just my own mental health, something I've been going through is dealing with what sometimes is called generational trauma. So this concept of taking something that would be kind of sacred to an ancestor and sort of doing almost the opposite of ancestor worship. Instead, the idea is to subvert my ancestors' religious faith and stuff to turn into something else. And so something that genuinely the rosary stuff that was meaningful to me and stuff, but I was I could subvert this into something else. And I wanted to do that, and then I went looking for the damn thing. I couldn't find it. And I spent most of the month looking for it while also doing other techniques, doing other things to be okay, well, what can I do if I can't find this thing? I have not found it yet, so I don't know where it is.
Well, here's what you could do.
This isn't the last thing I did. I've got more to say, but this is just the first thing I tried to do, and it didn't happen. But I've got more things I tried to do that didn't happen. So hold on to your seats.
Hold on, I'm buckling in to be let down.
So it's just that's the story of being friends with me, I suppose. Yep. That's.
I was going to say what you could do is say 7 Hail Garys until you find it.
There we go. Exactly. I did not use enough magic to find this thing. That's clear. I would have if I had used more magic. See, I need to practice more results magic right there. I don't even, because literally my mind doesn't really go to that place. It's not something that is a knee-jerk reaction. It's I could magic this. I could give it a try at the very least. And my mind doesn't really go there immediately. I always think about it sort of later where I'm oh, I should have done something about that. Why didn't I do anything about that? Okay.
You should have prayed to St. Anthony to help you find it so that you could fucking subvert it, that would have been fucking metal.
So the next thing, because I thought about doing, was because I've been having a lot of luck with my dreams. I'm a very natural lucid dreamer, but it also means that I haven't really done like practice lucid dreaming, like, you know, where people have, you know, reality tests. They do different things to make them so they can do it more regularly and have more control when they do it and everything. But I've been trying to do more of that, and one of the things that, you know, I told Yor about some time ago is I've got a personal, you know, mudra I do with the mantra and stuff, and I wanted to do it in a dream. I wanted to remember when I was lucid dreaming to do this thing, and I did it first time, I don't know, what was that, a couple months ago? And I've been able to do it a little bit more regularly in this month. So I got in my head, like, maybe I could do this whole thing in a dream, because I just thought I could. And the idea is like, well, if I remember to do, you know, the personal mantra and the mudra, then my idea was that I would then do something that I do a lot in my dreams when I lucid dream, would be just to explore. And I would explore until I found something that seemed like I had a sort of sacred connectedness, like something like that just represents something in a dream. And then in the dream, I would destroy it in the dream. I find some way to get rid of it in the dream.
Did you find your rosary?
No. Because
did you find your boots that you threw away?
Oh, that would be so awesome. That would be so awesome. Meet my boots again in a dream. But no, I released those boots. They're not coming back to me.
Now they're just an item.
But of course, as soon as I decide this is what I want to try to do, and I attempted doing it for about a week and a half, until I felt like I'm running more out of time, and like I've got to think of something else to do because this isn't working. It's like, it would have been cool if it did, but I still need more work in that field to get the work right. So finally, because it's coming down to the wire, I was like, okay, maybe I should go back to getting rid of something in my magical practice, because right now I have so few things, and maybe it's like I have too much tied into them. I was like, you know, maybe I should just let fate sort of decide what thing to get rid of. So I basically chose 4 things off my altar and been like, okay, I'm gonna roll a freaking die, and whichever one comes up with this one, I am going to get rid of it. And, you know, whatever I had tied to it doesn't matter. I'll find something else, or I won't use it anymore. And that's what I ended up doing. So just allowing, because one, you probably could deduce from like the whole boot thing and everything, I tend to have a lot of attachment to things. You know, it can be hard for me to like sometimes let go of things because I've put meaning into that, and it's like, you know what, this might be a good way to just let go of the control over what thing I'm going to get rid of, and not decide I'm ready to get rid of it or not. Nope, we'll let something else decide to do it for me.
That's good.
And yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty fucking dope.
I like that my challenges so far have helped you declutter too.
Yes. It's an ever working process.
Telemagic of fucking house cleaning.
Yeah. Mary Kondo magic. That's what I'm doing.
But no, I very
Kondo?
much
What's your name?
I very much like the idea of some just using it as a subversion of your own affinity towards a particular behavior, and just saying, no, fuck it, no, this is it. I'm still super attached to that. I don't want to get rid of it. Nope, Di said so.
Yep, too
in
late.
the trash.
And it's even more like, it's even better on a deeper level, because rather than subverting the item itself, right, of taking like, oh, this isn't a spoon anymore, now I'm going to use it as a shovel or whatever, right? Like, you're subverting your own, like, tendency to attach to things. And you're like, okay, but fuck it, I don't care about this thing anymore. Like, that's something that takes people so long to get to. And being able to just, like, all right, I'm done with this fucking thing, whatever the thing is, like, that's pretty big.
Awesome.
Right, and I
I'm
think
doing
it
great.
yeah, no, and I think it ties in well with what we've talked about today, because it's like, shit's all made up and it doesn't matter
Exactly.
anyway.
It's like perfect.
Just throw it in the
Get rid of this
trash.
thing.
It's a really like good way, and it ties back into like, and we'll be kind of talking about this on the next Esotopical. The idea that like chaos magic came out of a time where the whole point was to get rid of all of this like need for, oh, I have to have all of these things and I have to have all of these components and time, and I have to basically be a fucking rich person to be able to have the time to do magic at all.
Mm-hmm.
It came out of this like, no, fuck you, you don't need that shit. Like, get a piece of paper and a pen.
Need a pen, paper, and some lube.
Yeah. And that's really all you need. Like, a half hour and roommates who aren't going to ask many questions. Fuck it.
Why are your sweatpants stuck to the ceiling?
Listen, I am on a journey
Of self-discovery.
That's exactly what it's all about, right? So I think you're really like kind of knocking it out of the park on these things. You're doing this stuff, and it's showing this whole like, well, I had these plans, I had these things I wanted to do. That shit doesn't work out. People have so many more plans that don't work than they do that do work. Like, and it's about being able to fucking adapt to that shit and roll with it.
Yeah, it's very much showing your malleability.
Mm-hmm. Which is a hugely important thing to develop as a chaos magician. I think you're doing a really good job at that.
Word.
Thank you.
So, what do you got for a challenge for this one?
For a challenge for this
I
one,
lost my pencil.
that's
but
ooh,
I don't remember this one.
that's gonna be tough. I mean,
I can't trust you to not lose anything now.
to not what?
No, she just
I already lost my pencil.
her pen. That she just had.
See, I've always been good at magic. I disappear shit all the time.
Fuck yeah, dude. My challenge for you is going to be kind of a big one, but I believe in you. My challenge for you is going to be to consult your pineal gland.
Oh God.
You prick. Okay.
Like, about anything, just
Okay.
access and consult your pineal gland.
Yeah, mine's not nearly that. I mean, it's gonna be
I'm not sure what that means, but I will find out.
okay. So mine's going to be like it'll be a process, but it's not going to be difficult. Prove the law of fives.
Wow, we're being kind of dicks this
This
episode.
is yeah. And you know I'm a math person too.
Yeah,
so
I know
you
you're a
just
math
know
person.
what
I
this is
can't
gonna do
math.
to me.
I can't math. 5 is a hard number, so you prove it for me.
I haven't mathed in a while, okay? It's been a long time.
Oh, man. They're not always going to be this ridiculous. It'll be fun. Probably. It'll be okay. So I think that's pretty much all we've got for this episode.
No.
What else do we have?
Now.
Oh yeah, the thing.
Yes. The new
that thing.
divination.
Right on.
So we have to divine. So I've decided what we're going to do. You might want to go like run and grab some. We're doing this episode. We're doing allomancy.
What does that mean?
Allomancy is the divination of how salt falls on a surface.
Okay, I'll have to go get some salt. Give me like
Go get some salt.
Perfect. Yeah, I got my salt. It's here. We need sponsors. Stone Mill brand iodized salt. It's okay.
We've got the pink Himalayan salt in a grinder over on this side.
Yeah, because we're bougie as fuck.
You rich fuckers.
He's got the blue container,
Yeah, dude.
the little
Stone
metal
Mill
thingy
brand.
on the top.
The salt for the everyman.
I had to go dig around in my laundry and my microwave to find my salt in the pile in the corner.
Yeah, I did. And I'm not ashamed of it. All right, so allomancy. The way that salt falls on a surface, which is cool because we just got these at a thrift store. They're these cool little, like, black octagonal fucking plate bowl things. It's not really a bowl, but it's not quite a plate. And I'm going to use that.
All right, and so we're divining how we believe, or how we foresee Keelon's journey going with these new challenges.
Okay. So we're going to do these, and then we'll have pictures of them up on our Instagram account. If you can follow that, it's a thing that we have that sometimes gets updated. Instagram at FBC Podcast. There's your plug. Boom. Nailed it. All right. So how much salt do I need for this?
I don't know, fucking just give it a pinch, whatever. It's not like I'm asking for a block of salt.
I'm going to go with a solid handful.
Jesus!
That seems
excessive.
Well, have you ever known me to do things in a reasonable fashion? Like, ever?
Nope.
Exactly. All right. So I'm going to take that. I'm going to fucking throw this motherfucker in here. Kapow! All right, what do we got? So it actually kind of plays out. So we've been setting up a new, like, magic room lately, and it kind of plays into how we had been setting up with like the way that it's set up. We're basically following like a feng shui kind of setup as far as like how we've got colors set up and pointing to different sections of the room. And a lot of this is pointing towards the, like, what would be like towards the northeast section if you were to look at it like a diagram of where our room is at. Which northeast is pointing towards like your family and travel, but also like your career and your life choices. Like in that kind of section of the room, the way that things flow. So what I'm getting from this is like what you're going to do is going to like cause you to either consider family relationships, or it's going to involve like talking to somebody in your family about it in some way, shape, or form. Alternatively, it could have to do with like things that you view in terms of moving. Maybe not physically moving, but like movement in some way, shape, or form. Like that's where a large portion of the salt fell. I'm also seeing like on the like what would be the southwest side, which southwest is going to be, I'm having trouble. It's purple, which purple is like wealth, right? So there's not a lot there, but it doesn't mean that you're going to necessarily be deficient. It just means that it's not going to be something that like that's not going to be an issue.
Wait, purple is wealth in which system?
Yeah.
In certain kind of feng shui.
Okay.
Yeah, this is, so these colors are based on feng shui, which is like, so when we were setting up the room today, we basically took a bunch of cloth and other material and hung it up on the ceiling according to like a feng shui layout, moving out from the central light in the room.
Okay.
The idea is we're going to like thematically set things up in that room that represent those things.
Okay.
So like I said, the where the majority of that salt fell would be the like in the same quadrant of the room that would represent family or travel. So it could have to do with one of those two things. It's going to be either something where you're going to have to consider like familial relation, or it's going to involve talking to a family member. Alternatively, it'll have to do with movement, but it might not be physical movement.
And you said the purple with the wealth?
Wealth and prosperity, money's not going to be an issue.
Okay.
So that's what I'm reading from mine.
It ain't gonna cost you much to tap into your pineal gland.
Yeah, no. Do that
Good
shit for
enough.
free.
All right, so we got our fucking pink salt grinder on a piece of glass here. Giving it one twist. Okay.
Yeah, you gotta be frugal with that fucking Himalayan pink salt, don't you, Richie?
Yeah. I mean, there's only so many mountains I can mine. So, it's clearly in a circular pattern because it came from a circular grinder. However, there's more of an explosion going towards the left, which I'll send you a picture of it, but it's very dense on the right side, exploding out towards the left. And where I'm sitting right now, that is also north. So, to me, this is reading as you're going to discover a lot of things that you hadn't realized, but it's going to come from a place that you are familiar with. So taking something that you are, like, you're very comfortable and familiar with, but taking those and realizing new, gaining new insight behind those things.
So, like, rediscovery.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Rediscovery, finding new shit from things that you're already familiar and comfortable with.
Right on.
What do you got?
You guys are
We're
using
here.
like cardinal directions and their meanings and all this other.
Here, hold
other
on.
Stuff.
I'll take a picture of this, and you can grind your own. You can do your
grind
own.
my own salt.
You can grind your own salts because I've got mountains worth of pink salt, and I'll just throw that on the floor. So, clean mirror. There's your grinder. Go nuts.
That would have been a bad thing.
Don't breathe
I
the
almost
salt.
breathed on the salt. Okay. Oh no! Oh no!
That's fine. That's fine.
That's totally.
No, the microphone cord went through the salt. This is actually fortuitous.
It's
well
far
done.
more interesting to look at.
Yeah. Go nuts. What do you read from that? I just took it after. I took the photo after you had done that, so.
Dope.
Discord. Chaos.
Also, I'd like to point out the irony that we're doing divination on an episode about Discordianism.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fuck the rules, dude. Doesn't matter.
When I first looked at it, I thought I saw the word orphan. I had no clue
Oh,
what
God.
it means.
Okay. That was your first impression. What do you take from orphan?
It's well, we could let's go more on the
Optimistic side?
yeah, more symbolic side of like orphaning oneself from something that would otherwise have been like parental or controlling abuse. Of Discordianism is entirely, you're creating your own system, you're doing away with systems of the past entirely, no connection to the systems of the past, and creating new systems. You must be an orphan. That's what
That works.
That's what I'm saying.
Fuck
I'll
it.
take it. All right, I think that wraps up this episode.
It almost does. Before this is done, I feel like we should all come up with holy names.
Okay.
Who? What?
We should do that. So one of the things within Principia Discordia is it talks about holy names, and here's everything it has to say about holy names. Are you ready?
Shoot.
Discordians have a tradition of assuming holy names. This is not unique within Aresianism, of course. I suppose that Pope Paul is the son of Mr. and Mrs. Six, and also titles of mystical import. That's all it says. So based on that,
Oh, God. Okay.
let's all come up with holy names. It'll be great. Yara, you're up, dude.
Oh, shit. Okay.
Up to the plate first.
All right, so I am going to take Pope Fourth the Sixth.
Pope Fourth the Sixth. I like it.
Yep.
That's actually pretty fucking dope.
God damn it. Oh, there's
Cologne, what you got?
Sister of the Divine Order of Fuck It.
Yes.
Yes.
I love it.
The Sister of the Divine Order of Fuck It, Pope Fourth the Sixth. Ooh, I like that. I'm gonna go with the Honorable Magistrate Laser-Faced Bond Spaghetti Fuck.
Good.
Write that down for me.
Yeah. Can I get that on a...
Print a card and then Xerox it. No, print 2 cards and then...
Print 2 cards.
Then copy it.
2
so you
cards?
have 4
no,
cards.
because it's not a Pope card. I'm not being a Pope. I'm a Magistrate.
Okay, you can only print 1/3 of a card.
Yeah. But I'm also an Honorable Magistrate. Hold on. I gotta write this all down. The Honorable... How do you spell Magistrate? I got this. Hold on. Laserface. This is a Von Spaghetti Fuck. Nailed it. Nailed it. We've just made our own Discordian church. Fucking, it's gonna be great.
Woo!
Yay!
All right, and with that being said, now we can go ahead and wrap things up. I have been the Honorable Magistrate Laserface Von Spaghetti Fuck.
Pope Fourth the Sixth.
Sister of Divine Order of Fuck It.
Hell yeah! This has been great. The only thing we have left to do is to throw out a real quick Hail Skafuckle.
Hail Skafuckle.
Hail Skafuckle.
And we're going to get out of here. We love you all very much, and we will see you next time. Peace! This has been a production of the Faith Blind Council. Please consider supporting us on Patreon at patreon.com/faithblindcouncil. We would also like to thank our sponsors. You can support us by supporting them. You can also contact us on Twitter at FBC Podcast, the number 1, on Instagram at FBC Podcast, and via email at faithblindpod@gmail.com.